as much value as I can so that you make the money that you want to make. Let's get into it.
Wait, Tristan,
Yes,
Like, can you hear me?
context. You have anything?
bit of backstory. I threw away the script on this because she gave me like a limiting belief right off the bat. So I just dug into that. I didn't even go into like what have you tried or anything.
Let's see.
Hey, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Okay.
Yeah, every call is going to be different. If you are skilled enough and you know how to navigate it, I don't mind where you go from the intro, especially if they bring pain or they bring limiting beliefs into the call, then it's fine.
Mhm.
Let me know if you can hear me okay, because this
Okay,
microphone
there we go. Yes, I
glitches.
can.
Cool, cool. Where are you calling in
In
from
the
right
blue background, it's like an ice cream shop.
now? Like what area?
New York City.
Not over here in the UK, if you can't already tell by the accent. I appreciate you getting here on time as well. I'm just going to go ahead and let the team know that you're here. Just give me one moment. While I do this, are you still for like the full 45 minutes or so?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, other than that, I've just let the team know that you're here. Are you all good to just dive straight in?
Yeah.
Great. So just to introduce myself. By the way, how do I say your name?
Your mic is like, bah, 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 bah. It's like very loud. I would tune it a little bit because you never want to come off as like amateur, right? So whatever you got to
Yeah.
do to dial that thing in to where it sounds nice and calm, like smooth, you definitely want to do that.
It's not a very good mic. I might just stick to these.
Dude, hey, Shure SM7B. I think I see Jeff with one of these. This is a game changer. It's like $500, but it's worth it. You're gonna have the
Yeah.
best mic quality possible. It's
Stop
totally worth
stroking it, bro.
it. Yeah, dude.
Oh, turn on.
This is mine, Mike.
Name, just so I probably got it.
Oh.
Esther?
Yes, Esther.
Esther.
Yes.
Okay, great. So just to introduce myself, my name's Sam. I work directly with Sam on this program. Pretty much, I'm in charge of everything on the front end, which is usually these enrollment calls, and then he and the rest of the coaches, they're in charge of everything else on the back end, which is, helping our students out, all of that stuff. Just to walk you through how these calls typically go, I do just want to ask you a couple questions, really seek to get a better understanding of your situation to make sure that, of course, we can actually help you. But
Sam, I just saw the $4,000 PIF. Congrats, bro. Good stuff.
Thanks, man.
so we do have some requirements on our end, and things that we're looking for, and any new students that we do bring on. But as long as all of that lines up, we can move on from there. Sound good?
Yes, sounds great.
So through dropshipping, what specifically is it that you're actually looking for? Is it more time, more money, more freedom?
So specifically, I graduate college in a year. So I'm looking for
Okay.
Okay, so one thing I'm picking up on, I graduate likelihood that goals and aspirations have been procrastinated on because of illusion of stability through a college degree. So one thing that we're going to want to work on with this person is leveraging the fact that they haven't chose to do more, right? Out of probably hoping that the college is just going to give them the degree, they're going to get a job, they're going to have comfort, stability. That's coming from somewhere. There's probably limitations that they've put on themselves that have prevented them from doing more. And it's going to come up as an excuse in the form of, well, the reason I haven't done anything is because I've been in college, right? So those are the limiting beliefs I'd be looking out for. Anyone who's young also realize that they're going to think that they're invincible, that eventually they're going to figure it out. And we need to help them to realize that that's not the case. And what I did in college is I thought the degree, like people who go to college, they use college as a crutch oftentimes. I had no idea what I was going to do with my life, but at least I had 2 more years left college. So I could just screw around and go and party and drink and do whatever I wanted to do in hopes that the college degree was just going to hand me a high paying job. And it did not work that way. I could not get a job to save my life. And I don't want to put you in a position where you get to the end of the finish line and you can't get a job to save your life and you're back to ground zero like the rest of us with $50,000 in debt. Okay, so good job so far. Let's see how you handle this.
You're in college right now. What's the end goal with college? Are you eventually looking to transition into a job, or is that just something that you're kind of going through the motions with?
Yeah, kind of in emotions, kind of up in the air.
This is, dude, 95% of people, unless they're going for like nursing or to become a doctor or an engineer, right? Like a high level skill set that they're developing, it's going to have a good high paying job, right? If it's marketing, business, anything like that, they're procrastinating. They got no idea what they're going to do.
Just seeing how everything goes, seeing whether if I'm going to go straight into a master's or look for a job.
Yeah, masters, once again, buying time, hoping that having more certifications is going to give you a better high paying job, and it doesn't work that way.
Just because so many things can happen in just a year. So
Of course. What would you say financial freedom truly actually means to you?
You said, of course, right? So be weary on the verbiage. You don't fully understand where she's coming from, what she wants, etc. So we don't say, of course, ever. Ever, 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 ever. When we say that makes sense, don't say that, right? You always want to ask more questions to get the context because you just met her. It's only 2 minutes into the call.
To you?
have my own place. I still live with my parents.
Good job clarifying freedom.
Just be able to pay my own bills, move out, and just start a life for myself independently.
Okay, that makes sense. So you're looking to ultimately like transition out of this, be able to pay your bills. Are you doing anything for work currently?
No, I'm a full-time student in college.
Okay, so you're a full-time student right now. Have you had any jobs in the past, or is this something that you are just looking to get into now?
Yeah, I've worked since I'm 21. I've worked since I was 16 years old. The only reason I don't currently work is because since this is my last year, I just want to do it as quickly as possible and just finish college and graduate as soon as possible.
Okay, that makes sense. So now are you in a position where it's like, I'm looking to invest
Who's paying for school? That's my question. Are you paying for school or your parents paying for school? Get an idea of how resourceful is this person.
into getting some coaching so that I can get the help that I need to like
Right, because if I can get them to realize that their parents are paying for it, then once again, I have all this leverage. It's like, how much longer do you want to be the person that just has their parents cover all their expenses, right? Where you are, the Bible says the borrower is a slave to the lender, right? So it's like you're giving away all your ability to make decisions, right? All of the responsibility to take the step into the unknown, you're giving that away to your parents. Right, so how much longer do you want to be that person? That's a route you could take. If she's paying it all herself and she's accumulating a lot of debt, then it's like, where has that gotten us? Do you know the outcome of this degree? Or is it still up in the air?
So anytime someone tells me they're in college, always ask the question of who's paying for it.
Yeah, who's paying for it? And then also,
Okay.
when she says living with her parents, it's like, are you covering your monthly expenses or your parents covering that? Like, what does that look like? Because if they're fully dependent on their parents, you're running into a spouse parent objection at the end of the call.
Yeah.
I need to run this by my parents. If we cover this deep enough in the discovery, it's like, how much longer do you want to be dependent upon someone else for your own well-being, your own freedom?
kind of.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, that makes sense. And I'll ask you this right off the bat. Most people, they would go get a job. What is it about getting a job that maybe you that has you wanting to start something like e-commerce?
Well, I actually I've always known about it and I've always seen different people, but the only reason I'm just now
Always known about it.
starting is because I haven't had someone that I could really trust, or I wasn't sure if there's a lot of people that are lying and that are scamming people. So I wasn't sure like what was true and what was not. But I have
Second, they say that, like who? Like who? Who's doing that? She won't be able to name anybody.
a friend that he does it, and it goes well for him, and he told me a little bit about it, and he told me
Because you immediately just dive deep into that. Does that come from personal experience of you joining a program, or is that speculation from stuff you've seen on the internet?
to look into
We're
it.
straight into it. 4 minutes in, that's great, dude.
Okay.
Because this, you overcome this, she's paying. 100% she's paying. If it takes 5 minutes, if it takes 15 minutes, I don't care how long it takes, you cannot move on in your process until you overcome this.
That makes sense. When you say like there's a lot of scammers, could you just elaborate on that?
So there's a lot of people that are selling you maybe a course, and then
There's a lot of people, it's like, who specifically is doing this? Like, who specifically are you talking about? Get specific. Because if we speak in these ambiguous generalities, then we can't get the context that we need.
Sometimes they don't have the right information, or some people are just looking to
And you see how she keeps saying they? I'm like, I don't want to talk about them. I want to talk about you. What is your experience with this?
get your money, or
Well,
there's like a lot of people out there that aren't giving the correct information or not any information at all, and they're just they're looking to take someone's money.
yeah. Have you ever like taken a step?
Who specifically are you referring to? What are their names? And let's go deep enough on this, because the whole idea is I want to drop this whole like house of cards that she's standing on to the floor. Who specifically? Let's say she gives a name. Oh, did you invest with that coach? No. Okay, where does the scamming come from? Where did you see that? Someone had a bad experience. Okay. You ever had food poisoning before? Yeah. I wouldn't imagine that stopped you from eating food, did it? No, of course not. People have bad experiences all the time. Jack, did you have a question?
You answered it, because I was going to say, what if she just generalizes it to, well, loads of people know that there's scams out there. You just answered it with the food poisoning thing.
Yeah.
Loads of people
Well,
get food poisoning, but you still eat food.
Exactly.
nah, you answered it, bro.
Debt with any of those people? Or
No, I've never taken a step.
See, okay. Putting a limitation on yourself based on the experience of someone else. Is that a advantageous viewpoint to have in anything? Do you want to get married? Yes. You know the percentage of divorce in the United States? What is it like? I think it's creeping up to 50% quickly. Right there, and there's so many reasons why people divorce. You want to know one of the number one reasons? Money. Okay. How does someone put themselves in a position where they don't have money freedom? It's a lack of skills. Right? So you can go super deep here. Your ability to go deep here and get permission from the person from what comes out of your mouth to reframe their viewpoint is the most powerful use of your time on the call. Because I reacted to your video this morning, Tom. It'll be posting either today or tomorrow. One thing that I really liked about how you handled that older lady is you didn't allow what she said to fluster you from getting back into your process. Right? Like, give me 10, 17-year-olds and put them in that position. I promise you, most of them would not respond the way that you responded, which is great. And you're young, dude. It's like, I get it. But if I would have got into sales at 17, no telling where I would be in my life. You're going to be leaps and bounds ahead of me. And it's because of who you've chosen to spend your time with, what you've chosen to spend your time doing. Most 17-year-olds are not concerned about developing skill sets, creating financial freedom, leaning into discomfort, taking hundreds upon thousands of sales calls, locked in their house, working into, 1 a.m. their time. You know what I mean? Most people are not willing to do that. So your willingness to lean into that is what's going to create the freedom that all of these people are on these calls looking for. Jack, did you have something?
You've got well better since I last saw your calls, Tom. Well better. In a short
Appreciate
space,
it.
in a short space of time as well. Your conviction, you seem older,
Yeah.
When you first come in, you seemed young, but you don't now on your calls. You just know exactly what you're talking about, bro. You've come on leaps and bounds, mate. If no one's on, I'm sure Tristan tells you that every day, but it's better to hear it from someone else as well.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, think about it, bro. Imagine this kid at 27.
I'll be about 40. I'll be retired and fat and falling over. Fuck me.
But I'm telling you, bro, like, you keep leaning into what you're doing and putting yourself in the right rooms and investing in yourself and pushing yourself out of your comfort zone and learning all these different industries and how to sell, you will have complete and total financial freedom at 27 years old. It's a fact.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you say there's a lot of scammers, like, where do you? I know that there are a lot of people in the space right now, but where do you feel like that way of thinking, like, true?
Don't agree to the narrative. Do not agree to that narrative. Right, because then it's like, yes, there are a ton of scammers, but we're not one of them. But that's the wrong lens to view it. A lot of people get divorced. Does that mean that your marriage is going to end in divorce? No. A lot of people are fat. Does that mean you're going to be fat? No. Who is that up to? You have to reframe the belief. Because you can make 9 figures doing e-com, Amazon, AI, start a business, coaching business, brick and mortar. It doesn't matter, dude. It's not the business. It's the person running the business that makes it work. Do you want to be the person who waits for the guaranteed outcome, or do you want to be the guarantee for yourself of your own success? It's up to you.
Truly comes from for you.
Personally, I just know people that they're over here lying to people on the internet, telling them stuff that they shouldn't, and I just I've just been honest. I've been just afraid to take that step, But I've read like a lot on Sam and what he does, and obviously he has like ratings and actual people, which is different than other people. Some other people just they tell their story, but there's no stories of the people that they've helped. Whereas Sam, there's a lot on the people he's actually helped.
And you mentioned to me like you've been kind of afraid to
Yeah.
take the step.
Yeah.
Was that like, what if I do invest my money into something like this and it doesn't work out for me? Like, what do you feel was behind that fear?
I wouldn't say I was afraid to invest because I do think, everyone should take that risk in terms of investment. There's going to be times where you do great.
Everyone. What about you?
And other times we don't. I feel like where I've been afraid is who to trust. I know this is a reliable thing to do. I just didn't know who to listen to, and yeah, just it's really just who of why
Makes
I
sense.
haven't started. I've always wanted like a mentorship. I
Yeah.
didn't want to just dive into it on my own and then not succeed.
So how long would you say that the fear's really been in the way when it comes to looking like for who to trust?
About a year now.
Okay. But yeah. Can I ask you a bit of a deeper question on
Yeah,
that?
of course.
Well, I understand like the fears held you back, but my question to you is, what position do you feel like you would be in today if 1 year ago you didn't allow that fear to maybe get in the way of you actually taking action? And
Okay, so we want to normalize it first because you're trying to reframe it. You would normalize and then you would insert an analogy to reframe the perspective. So I would normalize and then I would go into marriage. Because what you have to do first, Tom, is you have to get them on your side of the table where they say, that makes sense. You're right. I haven't thought about it that way. Then you now would have permission to go backwards. It's like, because imagine you actually committed to yourself 2 years ago. You made an investment. You started the business. You were making $5,000 a month. Where would you be? Because how much have you lost out on allowing this fear of the unknown or the results of other people that you don't know to therefore put limitations on what you can or cannot achieve in your own life? You see what I mean? Okay, so normalize analogy, reframe the belief to where they get on your side of the table, and then you can go backwards to what's been the cost of you thinking the way that you've been thinking.
Yeah, I think I've been like forgetting to add in the like, are you open to a shift of perspective, and then normalizing as well. I
Yeah.
need to remember to say that from now.
Yeah, it's like, would you be open to potentially looking at this differently if it got you closer to your goal?
start with somebody.
Maybe I would have been I would have already met my goal of a year in terms of
Maybe.
financial stability and just
Okay, so they'll tell you everything that you need to know. We're 7 minutes in. I know the objection is going to be fear. I know she doesn't believe in herself. So I have everything that I need to know to close the deal. And future pace has nothing to do with that. And consequence has nothing to do with that. I got it all, dude. So what am I going to do in this situation to help her overcome herself?
just having more money and financial freedom.
Okay. And the only reason I ask you this is because there's typically two types of people in these situations. There's the person that would say, everybody's a scam. I don't know who to trust, so I'm just not going to do anything. Or there would be the person that says, like, I have a little bit of fear, like this is making me uncertain. However, I'm going to take that regardless because I want this goal.
Because you can do this if you got her on your side of the table. It will land very well. Right? But the reframe is you can make 6, 7 figures doing anything. Trading, starting a coaching business, Amazon FBA business, e-commerce business, lead agency business. They all work, dude. Every single business model works. But it's the person running the business that makes the business work. Right? The reason that you're in the position that you're in, wealth comes from paying other people who know more than you, soaking it up like a sponge and implementing it in your own life. That's where wealth comes from. Right? It's fast tracking success.
Really want to get there. Out of those two people, who do you feel like actually has the best shot of getting where they need to go?
Because the true reframe is like success is not guaranteed. Right? But there are 2 guarantees. One of them is if you don't do anything, you're going to stay where you're at. That's one. The second one is if you don't quit, you cannot fail. Impossible. It's impossible. So who do you want to be? Because think about it, like let's say her parents are paying for all the school. My question is like, where does this desire to follow in your parents' footsteps come from? Are they even living the life that you want to live yourself? Why are you following their lead? It's usually comfort, right? And then you get to the end of that road and it's like, I wasted all this time.
Oh no, definitely the people that just have a little bit of fear and, you know, go and do what they have to do.
Okay. Why do you feel like that person does though?
Why do I feel like that person?
Why do you feel like that person has a better chance of actually getting there than the person that would let the fear hold them back?
Because if fear shouldn't stop someone from taking a risk. Risks are always scary, but it's up to you. Like everyone fails at some point in their life, and you just have to determine if even if I end up failing, but I'll try again. You know.
Yeah. But my question to you is, moving forwards, which person do you want to be so that you can actually make this happen?
I want to be the person that's not scared to take that risk.
If she had that belief internalized, her actions would be different. Right? It's kind of like the fat person saying, all you need to do is to lose weight is be in a calorie deficit and go to the gym consistently. What does it matter if you have the information and you're not implementing? So what's actually kept you from doing that up until this point? It sounds like you know what to do, but you haven't done it. Why is that? How much longer do you want to be that person that knows what they should do, chooses not to follow their own beliefs?
And invest.
Okay. And you mentioned to me that until now, over the last year, like you have been that person that's let the fear get in the way.
Yeah.
So my question to you would be like, what do you feel like we've maybe lost out on over this year because we've allowed the fear?
Okay, be weary on saying my question for you is. Be weary on that. I would never go out to coffee with someone and say, my next question is. When you say that, you remind the person subconsciously that they're in a sales process, which is not what we want to do.
There's a few like missing language tracks here. I say make sense loads. I say this loads. And then there's one other
My
thing
next
you mentioned
question
earlier.
is, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, keep it as authentic as possible, conversational as possible.
To get in the way of us up until now, we haven't actually taken the necessary step up until this point.
I just haven't. You know, I've had a set goal for a while now. I haven't met it. And I think what's opening my eye now is, you know, in just a year, like I said, I'm graduating college, so it's like more like the real world now. And now it's okay. Now I have to take charge, and if that means taking a risk, I'm willing to do that now.
But here's the truth: like most people, they allow the fear to get in the way.
Yeah.
That's what we have done over the last year. But opposition, like, what level of income do you truly think that you would be at today if you didn't allow that fear to hold you a year ago? Like, if you had to think about it.
Honestly, I think a good maybe 100K
Okay.
in the year.
So would we be in the position that we're in right now, where we haven't actually met the need yet, or would we be thriving a lot more?
I would have been thriving.
Okay, so can you see how that we're thinking, right? Like we haven't yet got started because of the fear. It's really
Yeah.
what has us in this position where we're on this, like, still wanting to make the change over the last year.
Yeah.
But we actually kind of haven't over the last year because fear's been getting in the way.
Right. Absolutely.
So knowing that the fear is the biggest thing that's actually gotten in the way of you taking the step up until now, do you feel like holding on to that fear actually serving you in any way, shape, or form?
Good job.
Not at all.
Okay, why do you feel like it's not for you?
Sam, do you see this? Like, this is the level that I want to get you to in your calls, because this is what you're coming up against. Every time.
Yeah.
You sell a biz op, make money online. This is the most important skill to develop, is this front end conversation around fear of investment in themselves.
Yep. Gotcha.
They all have it. I watched David's webinar on Sunday night, and he spent a lot of time reframing beliefs. And there were some things that he definitely could do better in terms of like shortening the call, but reframing beliefs and getting them to trust you and being willing to take action regardless of the outcome is vitally important in the sales process. And the better that you can get at communicating what you've done in your own life, like the risks that you've taken, being aware of your own life and the areas that you can leverage in this process to help convey how powerful that is it's going to change the game for you in terms of building trust. Yeah. Legit.
Yeah.
Legit.
Well, yeah, actually, yeah.
Because it hasn't gotten me anywhere. I'm still financially speaking, I'm still in the same space that I was last year.
See how she's saying that now? Now she's saying it. People think through talking. Okay. The more I can get them to talk about how they're dissatisfied with where they're at and it's their fault, the more leverage I'm going to get, right? For them to follow my lead. Because I promise you, she didn't get on the call thinking and saying what she's saying right now. She was externalizing. It's the guru's fault, right? I can't trust the internet because of X, Y, and Z. But now she's saying and thinking, this is my responsibility. Regardless of whether or not it's successful or it fails, it's my responsibility. Just like going to a gym, lifting weights, exercising.
You know?
Yeah.
So it hasn't helped me at all.
Okay, so knowing that you're not making the income that you're looking to make and you holding on to this fear, provide you with a world where you stay exactly where you're at and we don't actually make a change? Is it scarier for you to keep living in that reality, like knowing that you're going to stay there, knowing that we're going to stay stagnant because of the fear? Or is it scarier for you to actually invest and back yourself and have a chance of the life that you actually want?
No, it's scary to think that I'm always going to be in this place and always think, what if, you know?
Yeah. So right now, what's your intention with holding on to the fear?
What's my intention with holding on to fear? I plan to just
Yeah. How much longer do you want to stay where you're at?
go and just go all in.
Okay. But the thing is, though, like that fear that we held on to over last year, that just gave you like a bit of certainty, right? Like certainty that we're not investing into a scammer, certainty that we're making the right decisions.
Yeah.
But if we always rely on certainty,
Where has holding on to fear of the future gotten us in our own life? Because what we haven't even had a conversation around is how much money is she even making? Right? What are her goals? Where does she want to be? You know, and it's good. I love the fact that you're handling all the fear, but I would tie those together. Right? Because it's like once she admits it, fear has held me back from achieving X, Y, and Z. I'm like, well, let's go a level deeper. You live with your parents. You're in university. Are you paying for your expenses? Right? And then I would just boil it down. It's like we are living life in our comfort zone. Who here on this earth, who here on this call has achieved a deep desire, aspiration, and goal in their comfort zone? Nobody. It's not possible. If you can reach the goal in your comfort zone, you're not setting big enough goals. Okay, so all these reframes are going to put us in a position where future pace will land organically. You're not going to have to twist their arm behind their back to get them to tell you how they actually feel. Consequence will land organically, right? So the more time you spend here, the easier it will be later. Be aware of that.
like what's that going to continue to just cost us in the future?
Mm-hmm.
This is really good, Tom. Really good.
Could you elaborate on the question? I'm not sure if I understand.
Of course. Well, you mentioned like we haven't taken a step up the year because of certainty, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like it's something that's safe. It's something that's guarantees you in that position. But if we always make decisions out of certainty and we chase the comfortable option and we don't get uncomfortable and face the fears, what's that going to cost us in the future? Knowing what it's cost us up until now.
I'm never going to know what's really out there and what I could have done if I hadn't gotten out of my comfortability.
Yeah. So my only question to you now isn't, hey, do you want to join the program by any means? It's more so, are you
Yeah, what about that would bother you? How would you feel if 1 year passed and you were still in the same position you are now? If you could describe yourself in one word, 1 year from now you're in the same position you are, what would that word be? Why would you use that word? Is that what you want to be known for? Depth. It's not this cookie cutter high level, you read a couple questions and they just close themselves. You have to get depth yourself. Your ability to do that is going to get you paid.
willing to actually get over that way of thinking that's kept you stuck over the last year so that you can get to where you need to go?
Yeah, I'm going to do it.
Okay.
I want to do it.
Okay, why now are you willing to let go of that way of thinking so that you can become the person that actually gets there?
The reason why is because just a year ago now, around this date, I moved to Florida. And that's why I go to school now. And a year ago, I would have never thought, I've always loved my life in New York City because I was comfortable here in New York City. But moving away and meeting new people and just being in a whole different environment has been the best decision I've ever made. And I could have done it years ago. And me doing it finally has made me realize, like, wow, what else is out there that I'm holding myself back up because of fear, because I'm comfortable. So that's another reason why it's led me to do it now, because me changing my life and me just going to a different place has changed the trajectory of my life. I want to do the same thing financially.
Yeah, of course. And can we do that now if we do hold on to fear?
Yes. If we hold on to it, or not if we hold on to the fear, but I definitely believe that.
Yeah, you got to reframe. Her being on the call is not taking a step. Right? The fans who show up to the race that aren't running the race, they don't win a medal. You're in the crowd, my friend. Being on the call puts you in the crowd. When are you actually going to get on the line and wait for the gun to go off? Okay, reframe that belief. Being on the call is nothing. I do thousands of these calls. When do you want to get on the line? When do you want to get in the arena? Okay, don't let that slide. Being on a call is not action.
That yes, we can do it.
Yeah, and I know we can do it, but what I'm saying is, like, if we continue going about things the way we have over the last year, do you see yourself getting there? Do you feel like we might need to shift some beliefs to make sure that this can actually happen?
Yeah, definitely. Just to view things a bit different and not having to hold on to it so much.
And I understand, like, the thing is, like, when it comes to the fear, it's totally normal, right? Like, it
Yeah.
goes to anybody that
Good job normalizing it.
ever invest into themselves. The best way I could describe it is, like, you know how to drive currently? Like, are you driving?
Yes.
Okay. Walk me back to your first ever driving lesson. Were you amazing at driving, doing everything correctly? Or were you amazing?
No, I confused brake with the gas pedal.
Yeah, right. You were probably pretty
Yeah.
nervous going into that. You didn't quite know if you were going to succeed or not. You maybe thought you were going to crash, but you kept going. You got guidance, and it became second nature, right? And then you started learning more and more, driving more and more. How did you start to feel then?
Great. I feel very comfortable.
Yeah.
Driving. Yeah.
Were you as nervous
Like butter, bro. This is good.
as the first time you ever got behind the wheel?
Absolutely not.
No, and you know, even though you initially weren't nervous, like going into driving, would you say it was worth like learning to drive, passing the
Yeah.
test?
Absolutely.
Okay, the question you need to ask yourself if you're watching this call is why is this 18-year-old better at sales than I am? Truly. He's 18, dude. He has zero life experience. He's just getting into being an adult. He's not even there yet. Doesn't even have his own place. But the words that are coming out of his mouth are getting him paid more than you. Right? So use this as irrefutable evidence that if you're willing to do the work, go through the trainings, role play, practice, put the time into it, you can get to the same position that he's in. It's all in front of you.
What made it work for you?
Just knowing that this is something that I could accomplish with practice and learning the right things from the right people, and just in a way, it gave me more independence, knowing I could drive, because then I went and bought myself a car. So, just having more independence that way.
And what did it do for your confidence when you actually got past that fear? You proved to yourself that you could actually do it.
Yeah.
Like, what did it do for your confidence moving forward?
It
Good. Get the answer.
definitely boosted it. It made me feel like, well, if I could do this, I can do so much more.
Of course. But looking back, would you have ever reached that point, gotten this confidence, had you have never shown it to the first American driving lesson?
Yeah, definitely. I will. Yeah.
So every single time you accomplished something that was initially scary going into it, how did you feel afterwards?
Relieved.
So what makes it any different?
The only thing I would do is add humor. It's like, yeah, I wouldn't imagine that if I gave you my keys and told you to go to Walmart for them, you'd be falling over in the fetal position, would you? No, of course not. So why are you doing that when it comes to investing in yourself? Starting a business? Why are you falling over in the fetal position when it comes to you building the freedom that you feel like you deserve? Are you willing to do everything in your power to overcome that way of thinking so you can live the life that you truly believe you deserve to live? Or are you going to take the path of least resistance, which is doing what you've always done, which has yielded the results that you've always had? What do you want? Question, 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 question. I'm not lecturing. I'm asking questions. Persuasion is your ability to ask the right questions to lead the prospect to the outcome.
No, you're right. Honestly, I don't see a difference.
Yeah. Because let me ask you, like, if
Fantastic.
we do continue to allow the fear to hold us back from taking the action that we actually need to take, do you see yourself getting to, the income level that you desire? Or do you feel like we might need to shift some beliefs and push past that fear in order to actually get there?
Being honest, I do think I wouldn't say certain beliefs. I would say more maybe trusting her and like in terms of people. Now that I've spoken to you and then going furthermore, just seeing it, if that makes sense. And seeing that it can become a possibility or a reality.
Yeah. But the truth is, like, we don't know until we actually take a step.
Can versus will. How much longer do you want to be the person who lives a life of ifs or maybes or coulds? When do you want to become the person who will get there?
Anyone can sell you a dream. Anyone can tell you that they're going to get you to 10, 20K a month. But it's down to you. And, the step's always going to bring about fear. It will bring it about anyway. But are you willing to get over that way of thinking of, not trusting people and push past the fear regardless so that you can actually get you there?
Yes.
Okay. Because the reason I say that is most people, they wait for the perfect time. The time where it feels the least nerve-wracking, where, they have the most trust. But the truth is, that perfect time, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the people that are making 10, 20, 30K a month e-commerce, do you feel like they had fear, but they had to overcome it?
Yeah. If the perfect time was going to if the perfect time was going to present itself, it would have over the last 3 years. And it hasn't. So how much longer do you want to choose to wait? Sit in the stands, hope and pray, rather than getting off your butt, going down to the line and getting ready to run.
Yeah.
Are you truly willing to do that as well so that you can become that person?
Yes, I am.
But Will we get there if we continue this mindset of not trusting people? We're never going to jump because we allow that to get in the way.
No.
Okay. So why now are you willing to actually become somebody that overcomes that fear and those trust issues so that you can actually get to this income level you can make?
Because I've seen firsthand that fear does nothing, doesn't help me in any way, and just seeing the risk that I've taken, it's worth it. And I want to do this as well. Take this risk and, just invest in my future.
Yeah.
And I want to do this. I want to commit to it.
Okay. But I just want to get a bit of backstory because I know we did go a bit deep there.
Yeah.
How much would you be looking to make through something like e-commerce though?
In terms of a month or anything?
Yeah, monthly income.
Monthly? Hopefully 5 to 8.
Give me 1 second, guys. They left my.
You said hopefully. Do you believe that that's actually a possible goal for you?
Yes.
Okay, that's good then. So we could say 8K over the next 6 months. Would that be a good goal for you? Would that be something that you feel is
Good job.
feasible? Okay. What would 8K change for you in your opinion?
I'm sorry, what changed for me?
What would making 8K per month change for you in your
in my personal life? I can help my parents pay off debts, pay off my own student debts as well. Give my parents financial freedom, and then give myself financial stability as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and have my parents fully retire and them able to live the lifestyle that they would want.
Okay, that makes sense. So when you are actually able to push past this fear, and we help you out, and we truly put you in a position to where you can actually get to, the income you're looking to make, 8K per month. Really be honest with me, like, what would that actually change for you personally when you make that level of income?
What would that change for me? I honestly, I think it would change a lot for me. It would allow me to, like I said, help my parents, help my own debts, just being able to move forward. And
Help your parents with what?
then,
Well, besides just
Your own debts. Okay. Debt. I'm in debt. Debt from what? School? How much debt? Right? This is why asking those questions early on, it puts you in a position where you already have this leverage. Because imagine you got her to tell you early on in discovery, I'm in $40,000 of debt and I have no idea where this leads. No job, no security, no plan. Because that's where I was at. Why? People don't ask themselves why enough. Why do I react the way I do? Why does that set me off? Why do I think the way I think? Why do I have the life that I have? People don't ask themselves those questions. Imagine if we lived in a world where everyone was internally reflective. It'd be a very different world. Most people don't think. They just go through the motions. They just do what they're told. They just follow. How much longer do you want to be that person? Right? Because imagine she would have invested into someone else who actually was living the life that she desired to live and wasn't just blindly following the lead of her parents, allowing her parents to pay her rent, living expenses, taking on debt for no reason, just because the TV or social media told her to do it. Imagine where she'd be. Right? How much longer do you want to follow other people who don't have your best intentions at heart? Who don't care? Jack.
What objection does she give you, Tom? At the end, why doesn't she sign up? So we know we're
She
not
didn't.
gonna get
She didn't give me one. It was she had like minus $1,000, and then she put down 1K. She had like 1.5K in her bank.
there. Okay, nice. So it's still a deal.
Got her in.
Nice, bro. Nice.
Who has takeaways on the call? What you learned?
I like those reframes you gave before around scam, which I'm assuming comes up a lot in BizOp. Doesn't really come up in fitness, obviously.
All the time.
But scam, are you open to a different perspective on that? The married one and the food poisoning one are both very, very relatable. So I've wrote them down. They were really good, mate. I like them. And I say that. Go on, sorry. Go on, Tom.
Sorry, I was going to say I probably need to normalize fear a bit earlier instead of like hitting them. I need to ask to shift their perspective first instead of just diving in.
Normalize analogy, get the buy-in, then you can shift the belief through going.
Yeah.
It's like, because look at your own life. What has thinking this way allowed you to achieve or not achieve?
I do that. I use phrases like that as well. I go, okay, that's absolutely fine when it's not fine. They're telling me something that they do that's not fine. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But it's not fine. But it's just while I give myself a second to process what I'm going to say next, I'll say, that's absolutely fine. And then I think, no, it's not fine. So you're telling me that you tried keto for a week. It's not fucking fine. Like, but I do it. That's just like, and I'll say that. So someone will say something and I'll say, okay, well, a question on that. And now reminded me that to imagine the person sat in front of you. If my mate told me something and I said, "Let me ask you a question about that," he'd say, "Fuck off, you melt! Like, what are you going on about?" Like, you know. So it's reminding yourself that you're having a normal conversation with people, because otherwise you're just creating sales resistance at the end of the call by asking them if you can ask them questions all the way through, rather than just asking them fucking questions, which they're probably expecting anyway. So right verbiage and good reframes. So I learned a lot. You know, it's been a minute, mate. It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's helpful. I mean, that's why you guys are here. It's one little thing. Like, you can watch this whole hour. You take one thing, you implement it, it will yield an immediate return on your calls. Immediate. You will make money immediately just taking what I talked about and implementing it. That's crazy, dude. From your computer.
You're in
Talking
the
to
right
people that
place.
you've never met in your entire life, that you'll never meet. Ethan?
I got a call, so I got to jump. But
No, it's good, dude. Good luck on your first
you.
day. You're going to crush it.
You, man.
Keep us updated.